So welcome to everyone, and thank you, Mukesh, and thank you, Ankit. We requested you to come and talk to us because there is such a huge uh, uh, buzz in the market, and not for the right reasons. Because we all have looked up to you as entrepreneurs, to what you've built with Curefit, and suddenly when we hear this news that you've laid off so many, and I want to get head on to the topic that you've laid off so many people, and then you've given so much to the Prime Minister's fund, and so many people suddenly laid off. This has really shaken the ecosystem, and all of us are very nervous because, again, coming back, because we look up to you guys and you're such role models for us. So tell us what is happening at Curefit and why this news.
Yeah, so thanks, Shradha. Thanks for having Ankit and I on this webinar. We are happy to share kind of our perspective. This morning, we also sent out a note detailing everything we are thinking through. So first of all, there has been a lot of misinformation. The facts are we have laid off about 300 trainers, mostly access staff, which was hired for future expansion, and smaller towns, which was about 5% of our business. 90% of trainers we have not laid off. In fact, we are committed to keep them on payroll and pay them for foreseeable future for many months while we ride out this crisis. So for some reason, it has gotten reported incorrectly over social media, and which is what's led to a lot of angst and uncertainty. I mean, most of all for our employees and customers, because they are also freaking out with this misinformation. But we are communicating, proactively now and just sharing all the information with everyone. So just to put the facts straight, 90% of trainers continue to be on our rolls. We are supporting them in all variety of manners. There is a change in their compensation model just to make sure we are well set to ride this out for the long term, as long as it takes. Even the trainers who are being laid off, we have done pretty generous severance, 2 months of severance. First of all, they're already paid for entire salary of March and April without any work whatsoever. On top of the 2 additional months of salary, on top of that, health insurance for extended period of time, and a separate emergency fund. So if some have personal family emergency, they can apply. We will tap into that. So that's where we stand.
I think. Sorry. Yeah, Ankit, please say. Please.
Yeah, Shradha, I think one important thing to remember here is that, unlike a lot of businesses and a lot of startups you spoke about, start off by talking about, right? So Cult has had zero revenue in the last couple of months. And we also strongly believe, unfortunately, gyms will be the last to come back to life. They are a place where, hundreds of people gather, especially in our model. And it's impossible for customers or our members to work out with the masks on. So we know the reality that many of these will never come to life. Still, Mukesh mentioned, we have retained 90% of our trainers, knowing the fact that our business will be pretty, badly hit in the coming months as well. So we are committed to making sure that these trainers continue with us, and also we are looking at innovative models of retaining them and giving them business while we continue. So we'll talk about it in the next few minutes.
Yeah, but why, Ankit and Mukesh, this conversation, because somewhere the communication that has gone and the narrative that has gone is, and I just want to go on record and people can keep chipping in as they watch this, is that you have laid off 800 people, right? And apparently the compensation that you're giving them is 2 crores, and what you're giving to Prime Minister's Relief Fund is 5 crores. And the question everyone is asking is that you are a funded company, you are role models for all of us. How did you go about this decision making? So what I hear from you is that this is not correct.
A lot of misinformation. Let me correct one by one. So first of all, the total figure of 800 is across entire company, which includes our kitchen staff, delivery staff, central staff. So across the entire company, trainers, which is where a lot of the ruckus on social media has been, is about 300. Total staffing effective is 800. Second, for all the trainers, for rest of this year, we've set aside 25 crores. That is the compensation we'll be paying them without any revenue whatsoever, right?
Wow.
On top of that, the severance amount is nearly across all these 800 employees, about 5 crores. This 2 crore figure is on top of all this emergency fund, which is set aside. So after I run out of my severance, I get a personal problem, accident, child school fee needs to be paid, I am hospitalized, father needs an operation. So beyond all of this, they can apply for this. 2 crore is just, last thing, which again got reported highly incorrectly. Just to reiterate, 25 crores worth of salary will be paid to all the retained trainers over next 7-8 months. 5 crore is the severance amount we have paid to employees. 2 crore is just the emergency fund.
Wow. So, Mukesh, now you're going on record and giving these numbers because these are large numbers from what the conversation is here out in the market. So, you're saying that 25 crores will be given to a large number of trainers. So, you are keeping that corpus aside.
Absolutely, absolutely. All the trainers now know, it's been communicated to them what is their revised compensation plan is. I think it's fairly, common knowledge how many trainers we have. We take that compensation, multiply by trainers, multiply by 6 months, and we arrive at this number. So it's fairly transparent. And just to add to that, this is not the only compensation set aside for trainers. So this is the minimum fixed salary. On top of that, whatever additional classes they do, whether it's for personal training online or live classes offline, there'll be addition per class compensation. So hopefully they end up, as business starts to pick up, both in the digital space as well offline space, they make more than this, but it's the minimum guarantee that we are doing, which board is standing behind us to make sure we are. Cult is all about trainers. Trainers have built Cult. We have in the past gone out our way to create a phenomenal environment for our trainers. Everything from English language training, nutrition pack, additional skills training, ensuring they don't do more than 4 to 5 classes every day and so on. And we are as empathetic, about trainers' well-being as anybody else out there.
Yeah, well, yeah. Mukesh, and I wanted to ask you specifically this because in the many public forums that you've spoken and the interactions that we've had last, you've always talked about the team, right? And you've talked about that, having worked in US, you treat people everyone with equality and see everyone with the same lens. And that's why, this becomes even far more conspicuous because somehow for some companies you imagine, okay, they will take hard decisions, but and especially we all understand and everyone, and we'll come to your business model because it is the most impacted in the current pandemic. But you've taken that stance, and that's why it just came as a surprise when the announcement came. Somehow it didn't match from what you guys have been saying.
We live in the world of highly activist social media, where people take wrong facts and can blow it out of proportion. Things spiral out of control in the matter of minutes and hours, and we were at the receiving end of it. But after we have clarified everything, you go back in social media, hundreds of trainers have come out in our support. There are a lot of really heartwarming messages from all our trainers, including trainers who are affected, which is on social media right now. I'll again state it on record. We very firmly believe in equality. It doesn't matter what level of management, engineer, operations, or trainer or housekeeping staff you are. We treat everyone with dignity, equal right to information, transparency, and none of that changes for us during crisis. If anything, we'll be going out our way to do more for those who need it the most. Ankit, you want to add?
Yes, I think one important fact to look at, Shradha, here was that while we had a large part of business shut, which is Cult, we also had other parts of business running, which is Eat Fit, Carefit. All our engineers are working, all our content managers are working through this crisis. So we in the last 3 months or last 2.5 months, ever since the crisis hit us, we've always been making sure that our trainers who have been with us for so long, and we stood by them while they were all almost not able to put in any hours of work. We had been able to support them, and we will continue doing that. But there has to be, so it's been talked about that the pay cut across trainers and the central teams is different. Of course, the pay cut for the team which is putting in 100 hours or probably, of course, lesser hours, slightly lesser hours a week, we need to make sure that it cannot be equitable with people who are right now completely without any work because the centers are shut down. We as a company, if we did that, that would be unfair on people who were putting in these extra hours to make sure our business pivoted to a digital model, that too in such a short span of time. While the digital has come in, it is not coming at the cost of the offline centers, which was also inaccurately reported by many people. Once the business opens up, we'll be very, very happy to get the Cult centers up and running. It was a very, very large business for us, massive NPS, everything was doing well for us. So right now, if there is some inequitable, cut in salaries, is because the trainers who are currently almost putting, not being able to put any hours, we are giving them a fixed amount, which is almost a minimum guarantee on the number of hours they will put in their future, and also launching a new model where they can digitally take classes with our members. And for every 50 hours they put in a month, they are already being paid out. And anything above that, they will be paid in variable pay, and which would make sure that over time they can get back to their 100% pays. And for everyone who is already working, in kitchens and Carefit centers, we have made sure there is no salary cut, because they're almost risking their lives to keep the essential services on. We are very proud in a way which we were able to launch grocery and help thousands of people. We were never in the grocery business. We were always like a packaged food business, not really essential grocery. We were able to start that platform. We are running it temporarily. We will not be running it long term. It's not our business, to be honest, but we are running it temporarily. We're running hot food business, and the care workers, those employees have not been subjected to any pay cuts. So we have really thought this through very well.
Ankit and Mukesh, to both of you, and here I will say, as an entrepreneur, one understands, because at the end of the day, yes, you have a business to run, you have a company to run, and if one can talk about, at least in the startup ecosystem, one of the large businesses which would be massively impacted, it's your business, right? Like, and then I can hear comments coming from the users. They are some of your fans, they are cult members. The question they're asking is that why, even if for whatever cut or reduction you had to take, and help us understand, aren't you in a subscription based model? Like, I am a cult member and I paid 12 months fees in advance, so wouldn't you have got that money already? So just help us understand that.
So I think, and as you said, I think I'm assuming a lot of people on this on this webinar are entrepreneurs. So, and if you're a cult customer, you know that we are giving you indefinite pause. So if you have paid us for next 3 months in advance, we are not deducting single day of that membership, which means we are not able to recognize that revenue. So the entire, the cost during pause is borne by the company, whether it's a rent we are paying, trainer salary and whatnot. When the life come back to normal, and we, of course, we believe the life will come back to normal, it will take longer, but obviously this is not state of affairs forever and ever. And you will be able to resume your membership as if nothing happened. A lot of sympathies have come in for members, and to acknowledge that, we are actually creating a page on our app now where if members choose, they can contribute portion of their membership, donate it to trainer emergency fund, whether it's 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, up to you how much you are going to pitch in. But on our behalf, we are not taking that away. So for gym or anything, is a cash flow business, right? You generate cash flow each month, you pay out a lot of costs, there is capex involved, there is salary involved, rent involved, and when the cash flow stops, the payments don't stop. And on top of that, we are not able to recognize any of the revenue from the collected fees.
Okay. I have to take this question because it's coming from a lot of people and some saying that they've heard about it, that you forced us to resign on the same day all of a sudden and deactivated our mails on the same day. We deserve better. And just want to understand, because this is also one of the conversations which is going on, that people were just laid off. They went and they were just asked to leave.
Yeah, I think
Shradha, I will take that. So,
go ahead, Ankit.
Go ahead. I think, Shradha, the process, which we followed is completely as per due process. We have in all cases given more than the notice period. The point that we made people resign on 1 day notice, I don't understand the real meaning of it. It does not mean that we did not give any notice period. Like Mukesh started off, in all cases we have given more than what the notice, the agreement letter or what the employment letter said. So I don't understand that bit. The emails were deactivated only after there was consent from the employee on that they are agreeing to part ways, and that was the modus operandi. Everyone who has been parted ways with has been given more than what the employment agreement said. Mukesh was saying something.
Yeah, that's I think it's just a modus operandi. I think, Shradha, we have requested people who to leave, who are if they can resign, we will be able to do more than, as Ankit said, what if you're terminate and we go by the employment contract, most people have just 1 month of severance, but we wanted a lot more than that, and that was communicated to them. And after people are communicated of there is obviously the emails were shut down post that, that is a due process. And our apologies to people who felt affected by that. That's obviously not the intent. I think intent is to do well by all stakeholders, people who are affected, people who are staying back, our shareholders, our customers, and it's not a great situation for anyone. I think we are dealing with the kind of catastrophe at a massive level with really no end in sight, and we're trying to just juggle all the priorities, right? We need to make sure if the business does not survive in the long term, everyone loses, right? Our
Yeah,
customer
yeah,
loses,
yeah.
provide our employees who are with us, and reiterating 90% of trainer, it's a very important source of livelihood. They are at risk. And just I also want to address point about contributing to PM Care Fund and Act Fund. See, we feel as individuals and as a organization, we are corporate citizen. We have responsibility toward larger world as well. The money in PM Care Fund, etc., is going towards people who are not even able to put food on their table. So as a company which is well funded and which has done well, which has thrived in this ecosystem, gotten a lot of support, it is our responsibility to pitch in, when the Prime Minister of the country calls to contribute. Half of the fund is contributed by people individually, myself, Ankit, our management team, and the company has generously agreed to match it. But the initiative to contribute was led by the management team.
Yeah, yeah. Mukesh, thanks, like answering from the forefront as a leader, but coming back to both of you, and I'm just asking from the lens of an entrepreneur, this is the hardest time, right? This is so unprecedented, and especially I again want to go back to your model, because what you guys created is so unique, so different, and we were discussing last time, right? People didn't even believe that something like this exists, because for the longest time that there can be a business here, but you went ahead and did that, and now, unfortunately we are hearing this way, but it created a huge amount of employment. How are you looking at the business, right? Because there are people, customers, sustaining the business, changing the model, because I don't know how this long and how you're looking at it, but I just want to get into the mind of both of you and understand how are you dealing with all the different things that are happening right now.
So Shraddha, a lot of these there's a whole cliche about the never letting a crisis go to waste, kind of situation. I think for us there is a more than a silver lining in this crisis. If you look at last 2 months, we have now 500,000 people who are working out on a platform every single day, which is 5 times what it was just 6 weeks ago. We have had 10 million people who have worked out on our platform. In our wildest dreams, we couldn't have imagined such a big scale of people who will work out. We are offering this service for free, as all of you know. So while people are stuck during quarantine at home, we have enabled them to work out, their favorite format, whether yoga or dance or SNC, or they want to meditate. Most of these services are for free. But as we evolve, as we grow our product, I think there is a massive digital business that can be built. Digital business also boundaryless. We can service consumers in India, but we can service consumers beyond India. I need to say a word for all of our engineering team and operations team. Last 2 months, I don't think they've gotten more than few hours of sleep. If you look at the quality of product they have churned out in last 4 weeks, because everyone rose to the occasion and they took it upon themselves to turn things around and go from offline business to online business. And as a result, we are seeing great digital traction. I think all of our employees, trainers included, should see a lot of hope in that, because we are already offering paid personal training. That product is doing well, is going to grow in time, which will translate into trainers being able to do more classes and so on. So we feel, Shraddha, it's a huge opportunity for us to pivot into a digital first business while we wait out the storm on the offline side. Whenever things come back, we have phenomenal brand. Our customers value the proposition we have created, and we are ready to ride it out. Whether it takes 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and hence we are proactive or cost measures, so that we don't surprise ourselves 6 months on the line.
Yeah, but Mukesh and Ankit, to both of you at this point of time, and please be very honest, because it will also help thousands of entrepreneurs and MSMEs and everyone who owns small outfit business is running. What's the most important thing that goes into your mind? Like I as an entrepreneur think, for me, surviving this time is very important. I need to, and I don't know how long this will. So how do you look, the lens through which you make decisions? I want to understand that. And of course, you guys are very well funded, but still, how do you take that decision?
Probably I'll start this. I think the most important thing right now, Shraddha, when I think about it, is that the fact that in the near future, until the vaccine is out, just the ability to run offline businesses and ability to run businesses where a lot of people, gather together will be very low. So all the startups or MSMEs or companies like us, we really need to start thinking about, how to make our businesses safe for users to come in. Like I mentioned, for gyms, it will be insanely tough because working out with a mask is a very, very rare option. Probably we'll start seeing that happen. But people like us would be very, very badly hit, including restaurants, because you can't be eating with a mask on.
Yeah.
So I really feel that people like us who are in this business really need to start thinking about alternate ways. We know that the gyms will reopen. We will come back to full business at some point in time, but at least 1 to 2 quarters seems very, very dire. So I think
Mm.
that is one advice to all the businesses which are in similar businesses like Cult, that there needs to be a very strong backup plan or cash preserving plan, because it would be very, very tough to sustain businesses which are like highly social in nature.
Yeah, yeah,
Mukesh?
yeah. And I think it's world over, right? Like world over, businesses across are thinking about the same thing. Mukesh, again, I want you to, because there's so many questions, we have 112 questions. Again, if you could, sorry to ask you to repeat this, but again, if you can go on record and tell the numbers, because the number that came out again was 2 crores that you are giving, but now you are saying that there's 25 crores corpus, there's 5 crores, and then there is 2
I
crores.
will repeat and I'll go slowly so that everyone
Yeah,
gets it. And
please.
I
I'm
hope
sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so one is this is also was out in the letter we sent out earlier. Our monthly revenue at Cult was 70 crores, 70. That has disappeared.
Hmm.
Costs have not disappeared.
Hmm.
We have a large training workforce. Even after letting go of 300 trainers, we still have 2,400 trainers.
Hmm.
We will continue paying them minimum salary. It's a fixed model plus variable, and the math for rest of this year, that's 25 crores of salary which will be paid out to trainers. These are all the trainers we have hired from different parts of the country, in many cases from villages. We have trained them, we have given them a lot of skills, and we think they are a very important asset for the company. We want them to be part of us, continue to help build the business, and we see them integral part of digital journey. Digital solutions not only about offering group classes, personal training, and small cult like classes, also big part of digital offering. We are working
Hmm.
on that. So 25 crores fund for trainer salary,
Hmm.
another 5 crores for people who have been let go. That's
Hmm.
part of their severance, double of what the severance according to contract should have been.
Hmm.
On top of that, just out of goodwill, another 2 crores of that's people individually in the company have contributed to help people with emergency. This is above and beyond the salary or severance. This is, as I said earlier, for any personal emergency, people may have something come up, right? We are working of more options of figuring out how we can extend loans to people. I should also mention that all of their health insurance continues. Obviously, all the 90% trainer who are on the payroll, health insurance not affected at all. But even for people who are affected, we'll continue to pay for their health insurance. So this is, all put together roughly 35 plus crores of cost only for trainers. There is much higher cost when we look at all our staff across different teams. It's almost unfair to other teams that we are not talking about them. Our eat for delivery staff is still delivering food at people home. They have been on road every single day even when the restrictions are tough. Some of our eat for delivery staff are beaten up by police in the early days. But they continue doing that, right? And as Ankit mentioned, we are not doing a single rupee of salary cut there, because not only we owe them money, but we owe them, gratitude from bottom
Yeah.
of our heart to,
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All of the people who have been serving. Yeah, that's true. So this is what you said. And the second thing I want you to again go on record is that, which actually became like a smirk in the ecosystem, is the 5 crores to the Prime Minister Fund. And what you're saying here is that the money came from the management, right? You all as founders also contributed significantly to it.
Yeah, it was the initiative started by the management team. All of us decided, as a citizen of India and as a responsible corporate citizen, we need to do something. So myself, Ankit, most of our senior management team, we contributed. We managed to put together 2.5 crores. We went to our board and requested them to match it, which they graciously agreed to do that. And that made the corpus 5 crores. We distributed across. PM Care is one large recipient, ACT grants, which is funding a lot of innovations COVID space. They have made 35 grants so far. The money is going into secure, scaling testing, securing PPE, building telemedicine solution, IVR solution, procuring ventilators. A lot of those teams are from startup ecosystem, engineers who are taking initiative and saying we want to do something. And that fund, and just our contribution, again, very small there. It's 100 crore fund that most of the Indian VCs and entrepreneurs have put together, again, personally. It's not money coming from the fund or their LPs. It's all the VCs, whatever may think of them, 50 plus VCs have individually contributed as much as their annual management fee to this fund. And we felt, it was the right thing for us to contribute to help the country fight the larger COVID battle as well.
And again, to both of you, like, I'm just looking, sorry, I'm just looking at so many questions that are coming. But again, to both of you, if you had to say as an entrepreneurs, how are you looking at this time? Like, this is going to continue, of course, as we don't know, but this is going to continue. Are you looking at your model differently? Are you going to be doing, and like you alluded to it, Mukesh, that maybe there'll be more of digital, but is there going to be something different from Cult now?
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the model will be actually, the workouts will continue offline. Does that, I think if you remember the model, if you would remember the model Cult followed, we had like very, very dense classes, 50, 60 customers per hour, and back-to-back classes with only a 10-minute layover. I think the idea would be now to run sparse classes. So there could be a break in between two classes and restricting to 20-30% people in the classes only. So we might have to reduce the duration of the classes. We might have to run the centers 20 hours a day. So we'll have to figure out a lot of these models, Shradha. So we are working on figuring out the best-in-class guidelines for gyms to be run. In fact, we are working with the industry body and contributing extremely heavily on figuring out what the gym guidelines for the country should be, and not just for the Cult. So we feel that at a high level, we feel it will be dense, less dense classes, more number of classes during the day, but shorter classes. So that's how the current thought process is. But again, it's all in emergent right now. We have to see how the social aspect improves in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and then we'll be able to comment on that.
And to both of you, I want to ask you, you both are such successful entrepreneurs and seasoned entrepreneurs, and Mukesh, you specifically, right? There has, if I may say so, I've been tracking the startup ecosystem for so many years and seen your journey in Myntra, and now here. This is the first time like a news like this has come with, like, which is, I would say a little, not little, significantly negative, which, has spiraled in the last 2 days. I just want to ask, if this was the case, then how come you got it wrong in your communication? Why did the communication become so wrong? Like, what happened?
Shraddha, unfortunately, we live in a world where social media moves ahead, 2 steps ahead of where the company is. I think for us, it was important to communicate everything internally. And there's a large organization. Communication doesn't happen one shot. For a lot of people, you have to communicate one at a time. And we are talking about interacting thousands of people, and we have to communicate both people who are affected, who are not affected, whose salary is changing. We were going through that process. Someone started a rogue comment online. Few other people in social media, pick up today. All of us have, people who will perhaps not like us. I'm so sure that you too, despite your popularity, probably few people may not like. And it just took us 24 hours to react to, and put complete internal communication and get out with the facts. I am willing to challenge anyone, giving all the facts. I think we are treating all of our employees as humanly as possible. I can't thank our board enough to going out of their way instead of, all the money cost we are incurring in supporting people who are staying with the company, people who are leaving the company. Most of it will not contribute to business in the short term, but they are, acting compassionately. They're enabling the management team to take care of everyone who is affected. And, once evaluated in light of the facts, I think a lot of those trolls and misinformed social media posts, I think people will probably withdraw them. We have seen a lot of withdrawals today. Again, anyone goes back and look at, what transpired during the course of a day when people got the information. We have gotten posts from our trainers, hundreds of them. We have gotten responsible trainers who have been let go. They are, feeling bad about how the brand has been treated, the brand that has treated them so well all through the years and stood by them. They are supporting us. Many of people have withdrawn their statement. It's a bit of miscommunication gone wrong. Probably there is learning for us. As you know, I'm not on social media, so probably not very
I
savvy.
told you I've kept today Ankit. I was searching for his handle also. He's also not there. Both of you are just not there. You have to be there, out there.
Clearly, Shraddha, maybe lesson learned here, and
No,
maybe
you
it's
are the
time.
hard way, but learned.
Yeah.
And again, to both of you, I'm just saying that it is unfortunately it's coming like this, but the layoffs are happening everywhere, salary cuts are happening everywhere, and it's just going to start. And I'm just hearing from so many startups. There's so many stories happening. But at the end of the day, it's a very big challenge today. Like, what would you tell as entrepreneurs? And then Mukesh, I'll again ask you this. You've had a successful exit. I told you, in this country where we celebrate startup heroes, you've given a success, like a tangible, real success to this country. And Ankit, you joined. You are building such a new age brand here with Curefit. What would you say? What should entrepreneurs be doing? Because it is going to be tough. And you guys have money. You've raised money. Many wouldn't have even raised money. What should they do in this situation to survive?
Yeah. Shraddha, with or without the situation, I think fact remains, it is minimum 5 to 10 year journey to build a startup, and world will not see, 10 years straight line, year over growth. I think we face crisis of one kind or another. Some crises are much more dire. We all remember 2008 financial crisis. Many companies, survived that. Mintra barely survived in that time. We remember 2013 crisis, which things were really bad from FDI point of view. There was a lot of downgrades for India rating. It was a tough time for Indian VCs and startups. Many companies survived that. 2016 was again tough year, right? So I think for startup is very important. The first and foremost thing you have to do is to not die, no matter what happens, no matter how much money you have, right? You can play it conservatively. You may cut costs deeply. You may go into hibernation. There are a lot of, the world around us changing rapidly and changing for good. So the opportunity you may be working on the past may not make sense anymore, but there may be new opportunity who can show up now. So one need to, I think, be on their feet, thinking actively, and be ready to pivot as significantly. I think when going gets tough, I think what really matters in how fast you are able to respond to situation. You obviously can't change situation. Ankit, you have seen lots of ups and downs. I've been part of massive roller coaster ride at Flipkart. You can share your thoughts.
Yeah,
Right.
Ankit.
So I think, yeah, Shraddha, I think it will. I really think that of course, this is the most unprecedented kind of event we've all seen. But if you look at the company's journey, right, none of the companies actually have a very straight line journey, or actually is very very topsy turvy in nature. What has actually happened, for us right now is that while we were on a journey which was going pretty well, we were expanding centers, and the best part about cult business, which is why it has hit us so hard, is that it was also pretty profitable and cash flow positive, and the entire thing has just hit us so hard. So I think as a company we really need to figure out and how to just keep our customers engaged, and many such companies will have to figure out that. And we were lucky that we have a product which is working, which is a digital product, and we've been able to make it work. I think a lot of companies, a lot of industries will have to start thinking on those lines on what products can work. Of course, I'm no expert on a digital content business yet. It has been 2 months since we launched this business, and still learning. All of us are still learning. But I think the one thing is extremely clear, that I always used to wonder, when large companies would have R&D teams and they would continue focusing on future kind of technologies. Now I realize that I think it's hit me really hard in the last 2 months, that why they do it, because they have so much inertia because of their past history, that they need to invest in an R&D department, because that's what will take them to some sort of a deviation in future. And that's exactly what I think smaller companies also need to do now. I think once we have seen this black swan event, I think it will become a very important part of everyone's memory, that everyone needs to have a backup plan in place. I think plan Bs were always a thing for always luxurious in nature. Like, not everyone had a plan B in place, but now I think plan Bs will become very very important.
Yeah. uh, but to everyone who would, and especially to people, it is so tough, that especially for people who would have uh, been asked to leave, and also people who are facing salary cuts, and this is across the board, across the different sector spaces. But now that you both have taken the bold step to come out and talk and represent what is happening across the industries, what would you say? What would you say to people who are facing crisis right now?
Yeah, I think it's tough. It's very tough, and I think we can't, empathize enough with people who are getting affected, whether it's Curefit or any other company. We are facing a situation. There'll be significant economic pressure all around us. The global economy is likely to shrink, and it will be slow, drawn-out recovery. Having said that, I think if people have downtime, there are number of ways one can work on building their skills. I know personally a lot of people who have finished multiple courses in last 2-3 months. There is good thing is we can all be very productive from home. There are numerous educational certificate opportunities available, which will all matter that we all part of skills, the economy which really values skill set and education. So one can take advantage of that. I think one can also live quite frugally. I think you can I have friends, if I can't believe how frugally they live, right? So there's a time when you can things are going well, it's a rara economy and you have a certain lifestyle. It's a different time and your lifestyle need to reflect that. One can get by in very little. I think the whatever savings one has, I think the one should have the intention of really making it last as long as possible. Ask for help where help is needed and invest in skill building. There may be the other opportunities available which may be part-time in nature. Maybe great time for some folks to start a company now. We've always seen recurringly great companies are started during recession, during downtime. So if you have that temperament, Shradha, in your event we meet with so many entrepreneurs, and if ever there was a great time, this is now, because you can take a year to work on your product. There'll be no pressure on revenue, and by the time life comes back to normal, maybe you will have a highly differentiated product for the new world that we are going to face. So lots of possibilities, despite not taking away the hardship that many of us will endure during this time.
Thank you. There are 200 and I'm just looking, there are 231 questions that have come from like thousands of people who are watching. But Mukesh and Ankit, thank you so much for coming and clarifying and going on record to say what you have said. I hope for many people this will clarify both the things which have become like a huge bone of contention. You are saying there is 25 crores for the trainers and for them. You're saying there is 5 crores of corpus and then there is 2 crores additional. And what you've said is that for the PM's fund, it came primarily from the management and then there was a board approval. And what you also said, Mukesh, is that this is for migrant workers and daily wage earners, and that's why the company contributed, because there was no food and for that segment. So this is what I'm taking as an official statement from both of you.
Absolutely. We completely stand by it, right? We are all watching the news of migrant workers, stuck, not being able to go home, families not being able to feed their children, who are stuck, hospital care workers, not having PPE, who are fighting these battles on behalf. And I think it behooves on each of us to contribute. I think every single person, whether you can contribute 100 rupees or 1,000 or 1 lakh, if ever in your time you are going to contribute, that time is now. And as individual, as company, we are doing our bit.
Okay.
Shradha, can I proactively also answer one more bit of misinformation which has been floating around?
Yeah, please.
I think there has been a lot of questions. I think not from a lot of people who understand how business works, but a lot of people have questioned why we are not using our existing trainers and why we're using celebrities for the master classes.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of questions on that also.
Yeah, so I think I want to
again be half the money to them. That's also the question. You must be paying.
Yeah, so I will be extremely transparent, and I think in the spirit of transparency, the total celebrity bill which we have restricted to our team members is 1 crore a month, and that is just a fraction of all the numbers which Mukesh shared today. Even with the existing team members, who are who are there with us on a reduced salary, it is a very, very small fraction. It is the single digit percentage fraction of what we are paying the entire team right now per month. These celebrities is the reason why we have been able to get some traction on our platform. There's a question on why we are not using our existing trainer for the class, and why are we not using existing trainers and why using celebrities. One celebrity class is played 36 times. Even if we used one extra trainer for each class, we would utilize 36 hours of 36 trainers, 1 hour each. So that would not help the business model. So I'm just trying to clarify that these celebrities have been shooting from home. These rates are super subsidized. They are working on a very, very small budget, our teams, and they've been very, very creative enough in putting this lineup together. I'm going on record to say that the total money spent across these celebrities is 1 crore a month, which is like a very small part of the entire fraction of what we
Yeah, it will not even cover 2 days of our total, say, wage bill. So just to put in perspective, it just sounds like a very spicy social media statement, but factually, it's not a needle mover at all. Shraddha, if I can also take a liberty, I know we have a lot of well wishers here, people who really care about Curefit and trainers, and the best way to help. And this is not advertisement, but if people want to contribute through their membership or doing personal training live classes, that's one way we can engage a lot more trainers.
Yeah. Thank you. I want to thank both of you because you have set a precedence, at least amidst not good news, not for the good reasons, but the honesty. And you've come out, both of you, and addressed the question head on because it is difficult time, and you've cared to do that. So thank you to both of you for clarifying, because it just, I think, sets some kind of record straight, right? Because it's just been going so, like I was telling you, Mukesh, today, like people from different industries to everyone has been talking about it. And I just don't know what happened in the last 24 hours.
I really hope all of them watch this interview, Shraddha, and once they know the facts, they also go on record, reverse their statement, which was misinformed. I think a journalism, social commentary, it also works on the principle of transparency. It's very easy to stoke misinformation, but it's also, I think, everyone's responsibility to go back and correct if you had wrong facts. So we are being very transparent. We are, as a private company, we are sharing way more than what we should or supposed to make sure, as you said, to set the record straight. And I really hope all the people who have commented, posted, they will factor in the facts, and if the facts change your opinion mind, they'll go back and talk about in their respective social forums.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. Thank you for this honesty, and thank you for coming out and talking about addressing it. Thank you. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you, Amishradha. Highly appreciate it.
Thanks.
Good evening. Bye.
Thank you.